Hey there, podcast listeners. Exciting news. My new audiobook, The Short Book Formula, a financial professional's guide to writing a book in 6 weeks to attract ideal clients, is out now. And the best part, for a limited time, we're offering this audiobook to you for free. Hurry over to www.theshortbookformula.com and claim your copy now. And now, on to our show.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Toni Marie Tory, and I am so excited to be here interviewing author Paul G. McManus. So, what made you decide to write the short book formula book?
It's been on my mind for a while. So I've been a student of what I call authority marketing since 2018. And it's how do you position yourself not as the salesperson, but how do you position yourself as the teacher, the educator, and elevate your status in such a way that you magnetically attract your ideal clients to you, and they're excited, grateful, all these great things to have the chance to work with you. It's not about ego. How do you shorten the sales cycle? How do you go from, having to pitch your ideas and prove yourself over and over again to simply attracting the right people and within 1 or 2 calls, having them say, yep, sign me up, let's go. And having them have complete confidence in you, even though 2 weeks ago they were a complete stranger halfway across the country who knew nothing about you, but suddenly they're willing to invest as appropriate in your ideas, in your services, so that you can help them solve their problems. So that topic has fascinated me since 2018. And I have learned a lot about that, and I've studied my mentor guru of choice. At this point is a gentleman named Dan Kennedy, who's fairly famous in marketing circles. So I've studied him a lot. I believe I've derived his best ideas. But the through line to that is that to really be seen as an authority in your field, you have to be an author. And ideally, over time, you author multiple books. So this book, The Short Book Formula, is designed to take the benefits of authority marketing and being seen as authority and showing you precisely how you can go from idea to published author in as little as 6 weeks. So that's what I'm really excited about, helping people become authors so that they can get the benefits of that status and that authority marketing approach, which will completely change their business going forward.
I love what you're saying there. And of course, I think studies show, and I don't know the exact proportions, but a high percentage of humanity has writing a book on their bucket list. What do you think gets in the way of people doing that?
Almost invariably, every person I talk to that comes to me and is interested in the idea of writing a book, it's something that they've thought about for a long time, but they haven't executed on. So I think there's a number of things that get in their way. One is time. That's probably an excuse. It's more fuzziness in terms of what to do. I think the fundamental thing is that they think that to write a book, you have to write this War and Peace novel that's 300 to 500 pages long. And, that's just a daunting task. And I'm here to tell you that not only do you not have to do that, if you're writing a book for the purpose of showcasing your expertise and more fundamentally growing your business, it's actually not in your interests to write a book that's more than roughly 100 pages. One, you'll never get to it. You'll never do it, most likely. But more importantly, the power of a book is not simply to say that I'm an author. That's useful and it's cool, and there's things about it that are good. But really, if you want to not just attract your ideal clients, but if you want to quickly get them from prospect to new client in the shortest amount of time possible, they actually have to read the book. Go figure, right? It's not enough to say I'm an author. It's like, yes, you're an author. I got your book and I read it. And now I'm excited to talk to you. So the short book formula is all about the perfect recipe to not only write the book, but a book that your ideal prospect will happily spend an hour of their life, invest in their time to read. And by the end of it, they'll want to call you up, schedule a call and say, tell me more. How do we go forward? I'm excited. That's the outcome for it.
What a concept. And this is like a new paradigm, really, isn't it? So you're really right on the cutting edge of being able to take what I would consider to be content and turning it into marketing in a way that is beneficial to the reader, but also really beneficial to the person that's wanting to set themselves up as an expert and warm their prospects up in the process.
I would add to that, I did not invent completely the short book formula. It's been inspired by some people that you might recognize. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. That's been around for, I think, a couple thousand years. Pretty well known. Another one, The Prince by Machiavelli. And interestingly, I mean, both of those are less than 100 pages. And interestingly, Machiavelli wrote The Prince as a sales letter to the then in power Medici family because he wanted his job back. And so he was literally doing what we're talking about now, is that he was showcasing his expertise so that he could persuade his ideal prospect, in that case, the Medici family, to bring him back on. So, this concept has been around for a while. It's hugely effective. There's another one that I mentioned in the book, but it's Go for No, which probably isn't as well known, but it's, it's like 60 to 80 pages. And that's a book. I mean, all three of those books are literally books that I've not only read, but I've read over and over again over the years, because the ideas are so powerful and we all need reminders of the content. And so when it's short, concise, and powerful, not only does it get read once, but oftentimes it can get read multiple times, and it really has a lasting influence.
Yeah, that's really powerful. These kinds of books, they don't just spend time gathering dust on people's bookshelves. They actually get pulled out over and over again. And a lot of this is to do with right timing, right? Because oftentimes, someone hears about you, knows about you, but for whatever reason, things are going on in their lives. They're not quite ready. They don't have quite the right timing. But when you can have something like that people can revisit eventually, when it is the right time, you're the one they're going to think of.
That's 100% it. And that's why, to me, it's so important that the short book, it's not an ebook. Ebooks are, have their place, I think, but they lack some of the benefits that a physical book has. Namely, is that PDF or even an ebook oftentimes don't get read, and they oftentimes get forgotten about, right? I mean, you probably have on your Kindle or in your email scores of books that, you like the title, you said, sure, send it to me, or you bought it, and then you've never read it, right? And that's just the reality. So the short book that we help people create, it's a physical book, and ideally we want that physical book in their hands so that ideally they read it right away and they want to take action. But to your point, they might just be lukewarm, or the problem might just be mid-level, so they're not quite ready to take action. But the cool thing about it is that, unlike a brochure that most salespeople use and send out, brochures get thrown away. People don't keep brochures. People don't say, oh, I got all these brochures and I got this stack of interesting brochures. No, they get thrown away.
That's what the recycling bin is for.
They get thrown away pretty quickly, but a book, rarely does someone throw a book away. And so even if your prospect does not read it right away, most likely it goes on their bookshelf, it stays on their desk, and maybe 1, 3, 6, 12 months later, when the pain in their life around the problem that you help solve is high enough, they then take the time to read it, and then they reach out to you. So it's not about forcing them to read it immediately. I mean, that'd be nice, but it's about giving something. It's almost like a Trojan horse, right? It's like you get the book in there, and it's going to stay there, and it's going to be looking at them. And when the timing's right, they're going to read it, and then they're going to reach out to you. So sometimes it works very quickly, and sometimes you got to be a little bit patient. But either way, it, in my mind, is probably if not one of the most effective pieces of marketing collateral that you can have.
And one of the things that's super advantageous about these shorter books is that they're relatively inexpensive to produce and deliver to your prospect. So not only, you can actually frankly pay more for a Facebook click than it costs you to send one of these books out. So the idea is you create critical mass. You have cumulative benefits associated with distributing, as many of the books are within your budget to distribute distribute, and that's a lot because they're not expensive to share. It's a phenomenal thing the way Amazon will let you print a single book and deliver it for really, like I said, less than the cost of many Facebook clicks.
It's revolutionary. With the books that we help financial professionals create, we recommend that they publish them to Amazon is our core strategy. And then once they do that, they can literally print on demand one book, and they can send that one book within about 2 to 3 business days to anywhere in the United States for roughly $3.50 plus tax. Now, mind you, that's both the cost of printing the book on demand and then having the book shipped to anywhere in the United States. And so it's almost negligible, right? Mm-hmm. Now, conversely, if you do more local business, or maybe you do networking events, or people come into your office, or what have you, you can purchase a large number of books for, I want to say, $250 per book or less. And in that case, we recommend simply using it as your business card. Same thing with brochures. Business cards oftentimes get thrown away. You get a business card, oh, great, thrown away. A book, oh, that's a completely different conversation. I mean, imagine being at a networking event, and instead of having 20 business cards, you have 20 copies of your book. Most people don't like networking events, right? They're uncomfortable. You don't want to be pushy, whatever. But when you strategically hand out your book, not only do you immediately get people asking you questions about you and what you do and how you can help them, but you can also see your status start to go up in real time. It's one of the most amazing feelings there are. And so, I mean, we have clients that we work with that, are introvert, shy, whatever, and they used to hate going to any networking events, where now they're like, the more relevant networking events I can go to, the better. And I got a stack of 10, 20 books to take with me. And it's just a matter of the person they're talking with, they're book worthy, they get a book.
What's important for financial professionals to consider when deciding to get help for creating their expert status book?
First and foremost, with few exceptions, I don't recommend going it alone. There are a lot of different companies out there that can potentially help you, but I find that many of them are focused on helping you not write a book to grow your financial business. They're simply there to help you create that War and Peace version of a book that, as we talked about, you don't necessarily need, and your prospect is not necessarily interested in reading. There's one company, I won't mention the name, but we have a mutual client who charged him, I want to say $100,000 to help write and publish the book, but it didn't really fulfill the goal of having people want to read it. Plus, it was really expensive to print. And so I think for him to hand out a copy to someone, it cost $15. And if it's unlikely that they're going to read it, then you're like, you have to get them to promise you that they're going to read it and all these things. And so it's just not as effective. Whereas we have a formula that we help our clients go through, where in as little as 6 weeks, they can go from idea to published author, and they can do that at a fraction of the cost that these other companies are going to charge. Now, the other thing that I recommend, and I've heard this a lot, is that sometimes people say, hey, okay, I'm going to go find someone online that's, I'm just going to, maybe like sites like Fiverr, different sites, and they're going to write the book for me. Rarely does that work out well. Typically the price seems super attractive, and so they're tempted to do it. I know I've been tempted in the past to do it, but the quality, the person knows nothing about advanced tax planning or financial services, and they do typically a fairly poor job of creating something that you would actually want to put out into the world and represent you. Plus, they know little to nothing about marketing, and so they're just trying to put down so many words that they can check the box and say, hey, here's your book, but it's not something that you really are proud of and you want to put out there. Our process is very collaborative. You do not have to be a skilled writer, although if you are, that's welcome as well. But we collaboratively produce this book together, and I guide you based on my experience of working with over 500 financial professionals that range from life insurance to money management to holistic financial planning to advanced tax planning and everything in between. I know the questions to ask you. I know how to bring out the best, your knowledge, your experience, and I know how to get that on paper in such a way that it's going to make you look good. And when the book is published, this is going to be something you're so proud of, and you're going to want to get into the hands of everybody that you come across.
That is really exciting. What do you see are the biggest challenges that financial professionals face when it comes to growing their practices?
I think it's the same challenge that most service professionals have. It's that everything is a commodity or is perceived as a commodity, and that becomes increasingly relevant the more you're asking someone to do what I call a high trust purchase. And so if I'm selling widgets, at that point, I don't necessarily need to differentiate myself so much. I might be servicing a local market. I can compete on price a little bit, and that might be fine. But if I'm trying to attract people, say online, or if I'm trying to attract higher, more affluent people who already have advisors and CPAs, I need to do something that really differentiates myself, something that shows them that I can help them in a way that their current advisor or CPA is not. And to do that, you have to elevate your status. You have to be seen as a thought leader. You have to have them interested in receiving the information and spending the hour or so to read it. And if you can, and as you go through that, it completely transforms you from being seen as a commodity to be seen as someone that they're excited to meet with and benefit from.
Okay, so I think this is our final question, Paul, and I'm sure everyone's interested to know, how do you onboard a new client?
So for anyone that's listening to this or is reading the book or a combination, typically it starts with a 15-minute phone call. If you've read the book, at that point, really it's just what questions do you have? I'm sure, pricing, things of that nature come up, and answer any questions that you have. And if you've read the book, then typically it's yep, let's proceed right away, or maybe let's wait a month and then proceed. So really it's just scheduling a call and determining if it's a good fit for you.
So what are your final thoughts? Is there anything else you want to say to people before we sign off?
I believe that there's unlimited opportunity for each of us. And I know that for many of us, it can be a struggle, especially online, to be able to consistently attract and convert our ideal clients. I also know that when you have the right approach, that you can turn that around and you can create a system that very naturally leads to you attracting and converting your ideal clients. And to add to that, you really do want to build a business that works with your ideal clients. As small business owners, service professionals, it's one thing to say, hey, I'm willing to work with anyone that has a check and a pulse in a checkbook, but that's not where I recommend you want to stay. You want to create a system in a business that allows you to work with your ideal clients so that you truly enjoy what you're doing, you are well compensated for what you're doing, and you want to build upon what you're doing so that the future looks bright. You want to do more of it. You want to help more people with your gifts. And so if that has not currently been your experience, this is your call to action to say, let's change that and let's create a business that you truly love, helping your ideal clients.
Thank you so much for your time today, Paul. I'm really excited to see how many people you get to serve in the future. And we're going to change the face of the professional services industry by empowering people to really stand out from the crowd.
Yes. Thank you.